ਮਿਸੀਸਾਗਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡਗ ਫੋਰਡ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਹਸਪਤਾਲ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਅਤੇ ਕੁਈਨਜ਼ਵੇ ਹੈਲਥ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਦਾ ਵਿਸਤਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁ-ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਡਾਲਰ ਦੀ ਯੋਜਨਾ ਦਾ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ। ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਵਾਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਫੋਰਡ ਨੇ ਓਮਿਕਰੋਨ, ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਵੇਰੀਐਂਟ ਅਤੇ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਛੋਟੇ ਕਾਰੋਬਾਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਗ੍ਰਾਂਟਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਜਾਗਰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੀ ਸੂਬਾਈ ਆਡੀਟਰ ਜਨਰਲ ਦੀ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਤੇ ਟਿੱਪਣੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ।
My friends, in the face of big challenges, our government has a plan for growing a stronger economy, an economy that works for everyone. It's a plan that will protect our progress in our fight against COVID-19, but also looks beyond to the Ontario we want to build and the future for our kids and our grandkids. It's a plan that will bring investment and spur economic growth, and with that growth, more people and workers will come to our great province, seeking the opportunities that Ontario has to offer. To attract and keep the workers, we're investing in communities with better healthcare and stronger local infrastructure. That means saying yes to modern hospitals like we're going to be building here and more ICU capacity. And that means saying yes to building long-term care homes as we added thousands of nurses and personal support workers. And yes, we're building long-term care here in rapid fashion. And that was the quickest build I've ever seen. I can't believe lightning speed. And again, thanks for your cooperation, Mayor. Well before the COVID-19 pandemic, our government promised to confront the growing problem of overcrowded hospitals and hallway healthcare. Years of neglect by previous governments meant Ontario's hospitals had to make do with inadequate funding levels, a lack of infrastructure, and no plan to handle a growing population. We're here today to say that our government is stepping up. We're getting long overdue shovels in the ground to build Ontario. We're making good on our promise to end hallway health care with a historic, and these are really staggering numbers, with a historic $30.2 billion investment over the next 10 years to renovate and expand hospitals around the province, not just in big cities and towns, but in communities all across Ontario who have waited too long for their government to deliver for them. As part of that unprecedented commitment, we're pleased to announce the multi-billion-dollar investment for the expansion and modernization of Mississauga Hospital and Queensway Health Centre.
ਐਨਡੀਪੀ ਆਗੂ ਜਗਮੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਕੌਕਸ ਦੀ ਹਫ਼ਤਾਵਾਰੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਹਿੱਲ ਤੇ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਓਮਿਕਰੋਨ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਵੇਰੀਐਂਟ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਤੇ ਟਿੱਪਣੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਅਤੇ ਚੀਨ ਦੇ ਕਥਿਤ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਅਧਿਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਉਲੰਘਣਾ ਬਾਰੇ ਅੰਤਰਰਾਸ਼ਟਰੀ ਚਿੰਤਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਬੀਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਵਿੱਚ 2022 ਦੀਆਂ ਵਿੰਟਰ ਓਲੰਪਿਕ ਖੇਡਾਂ ਦੇ ਸੰਭਾਵਿਤ ਕੂਟਨੀਤਿਕ ਬਾਈਕਾਟ ਬਾਰੇ ਸਵਾਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਵੀ ਦਿੱਤਾ।
I want to start off with just some comments around Omicron. Canadians are getting really, really worried about this as they're seeing more and more information about the mutations, about questions around how vaccines will work or not work with Omicron and that variant. So there's a lot of worry out there. And what we need to do, there's two things that I'm, again, pushing for. We're seeing some positive signs on this, but we want to see a clear process around testing for people coming into Canada and a proper process around quarantining. Those are two serious concerns around how we can slow down the spread. But it really highlights that those might buy us some time. The spread is inevitable. And the only way we can fight it truly is to make sure we vaccinate the world. And the most important tool in doing that is to waive the patent protection. Justin Trudeau needs to stop protecting the profits of pharmaceuticals and start standing up for countries with less resources and say that they should have the ability to produce the vaccines locally. That is the most important tool in fighting this pandemic. It is a global pandemic, which means we need to fight it globally. And to do our part means supporting countries that want to produce this vaccine locally and be able to produce it domestically. To do that, we need to waive the patent protection. I think there's been some serious concerns raised around the security of folks, given some of the recent news out of not recent in terms of just this week, but for the past period of years, are concerns around human rights violations, concerns around suppression of freedom of speech, and those concerns definitely raise questions about the safety and security of our athletes. And I think some of those questions are legitimate questions. So I want to see our athletes safe and not in any risk, and that's my primary concern.
ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ ਭਾਰੀ ਹੜ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਾਰਨ ਸੂਬੇ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਭਾਰੀ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਹਮਣਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਅਜੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਹੜ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਦਾ ਨਿਰੀਖਣ ਹੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸੂਬੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਤੀਜੇ ਤੂਫਾਨ ਦੀ ਚੇਤਾਵਨੀ ਜਾਰੀ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਦੇ ਜਨਤਕ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਆ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਲਿਸਿਟਰ ਜਨਰਲ ਮਾਈਕ ਫੋਰਨਵਰਥ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਵਧਾਨ ਰਹਿਣ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੌਸਮ ਅਲਰਟ ਉੱਤੇ ਪੂਰਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਦੇਣ ਦੀ ਅਪੀਲ ਕੀਤੀ।
We are in the midst of this third intense storm, and I know that in some parts of the lower mainland and here in Victoria, there is a bit of a lull. But I want to make it clear to everyone this storm is not over. There is this little break right now, but a significant part of the storm is still to come throughout the rest of the day. The extreme weather events we've been experiencing are unprecedented, and many parts of our province have been seeing more heavy rainfall. The Squamish-Lillooet Regional District issued an evacuation order late yesterday in the Birkin area, and those residents are receiving supports. But the full extent of the damage from this latest storm remains to be seen. Even as we continue recovering from the impacts of previous systems and widespread flooding, we are monitoring weather and road conditions across the province very closely and working with communities and emergency services to respond. Local leaders have been incredible partners in supporting British Columbians, and I am confident we will overcome these challenges stronger than ever. Our top priority remains public safety. The River Forecast Centre issued several flood warnings and watches this morning for southwest BC and the Central Coast. You'll hear more about these advisories in a moment. And I know I've said this often, but we all need to avoid unnecessary travel right now and wait out this storm. And everyone needs to follow all evacuation orders and the instructions of local officials, the experts on the ground. And call 911 to report your location immediately if on evacuation order and you cannot evacuate on your own. Please stay informed through updates from Environment Canada, Drive BC, your local government or your local First Nation. I want to thank British Columbians for their vigilance, for being prepared, and for keeping themselves and their neighbours safe. When we all work together and do our part, it makes a huge difference.
ਬੀਤੇ ਦਿਨ ਹਾਊਸ ਆਫ ਕਾਮਨਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਐਮਪੀ ਰੋਬ ਮੂਰ ਦੁਆਰਾ ਬਿੱਲ C4 ਨੂੰ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਸੋਧ ਦੇ ਤੁਰੰਤ ਪਾਸ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰਸਤਾਵ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਸਦ ਮੈਂਬਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਰਬਸੰਮਤੀ ਨਾਲ ਅਪਣਾਇਆ। ਜ਼ਿਕਰਯੋਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਰਿਵਰਤਨ ਥੈਰੇਪੀ ਦੇ ਪਾਬੰਦੀ ਲਗਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਬਿੱਲ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ, ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਹਾਊਸ ਆਫ ਕਾਮਨਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਸ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ।
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm asking for unanimous consent to adopt the following motion, that notwithstanding any standing order or usual practices of the House, Bill C4, an act to amend the Criminal Code, conversion therapy, be deemed to have been read a second time and referred to a committee of the whole, deemed considered in committee of the whole, deemed reported without amendment, deemed concurred in at the report stage, and deemed read a third time and passed.
Being a hybrid sitting of the House, for the sake of clarity, I will only ask those who are opposed to the request to express their disagreement. Accordingly, all those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed. The House has heard the terms of the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please say nay. There being no dissenting voice, I declare the motion carried.
C'est une journée fantastique. It's a fantastic day. As you just saw, we had unanimous consent to pass C3 in the House, all readings, all committee, and it's now in front of the Senate. Rob Oliphant, who is I don't want to call Rob our senior statesman, but in many ways he is. Pascal and Seamus, all colleagues who put a great deal of work and time into this bill. It's an important day for Canadians. It's an important day to be who you are. It's an important day to love who you want to love. And it's an important day to express yourself and to understand yourself the way you are and the way you want to be.
ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਕਾਕਸ ਦੀ ਹਫ਼ਤਾਵਾਰੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਲੀਡਰ ਐਰਿਨ ਓਟੂਲ ਨੇ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਹਿੱਲ ਤੇ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ। ਇਸ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਰਿਵਰਤਨ ਥੈਰੇਪੀ ਤੇ ਪਾਬੰਦੀ ਲਗਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੁਆਰਾ ਲਿਆਂਦੇ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਸਵਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੱਤੇ।
Our caucus met today, and our MPs in all parts of the country are hearing repeatedly about the cost of living crisis. Seniors are not able to afford their own home. Families with young children small businesses seeing their margins crushed with inflation and having a supply chain shortage. So people are worried, and we will continue to push the government. We're going to move to accelerate the passage of this bill. Mr. Trudeau has had 4 opportunities. He's failed 3 bills. He had 4 times that he could have moved on this in the last 5 years. He has failed, and he's using the LGBTQ community in a way that's not appropriate politically. I'm a longtime ally of the community. We're going to move to accelerate passage of this bill.
How will you accelerate it? How will you accelerate it?
There's many ways for us to accelerate passage of the legislation. This is the 3rd bill that Mr. Trudeau has brought forward on conversion therapy. Canadians deserve real action. The LGBTQ community deserves real action. So we're going to move using all parliamentary measures available to actually accelerate the quick passage of this bill.
CN Rail is still not operating. CP Rail is moving ahead. I've been very pleased with the work done by the road services to move as quickly as possible. But the issues in the Fraser Canyon, especially at Jackass Summit, are incredibly challenging. I was actually just talking to a constituent this morning, and thanks to so many great volunteers, I had all these guys bringing out their own helicopters to bring in food and supplies to places like Lytton First Nation again, which are just really feeling the impact. And so there's a lot of hope, but there's still a lot of hopelessness out there too, and we have to continue working together.
ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਨਵੇਂ ਨਿਯਮ ਪਾਸ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਹਨ ਜਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਇੰਪਲੋਈਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਆਫਿਸ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਡਿਸਕਨੈਕਟ ਹੋਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਦਦ ਮਿਲੇਗੀ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਬਿਹਤਰ ਤਾਲਮੇਲ ਕਾਇਮ ਕਰ ਸਕਣਗੇ। ਮੰਗਲਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਵਰਕਿੰਗ ਫॉर ਵਰਕਰਸ ਐਕਟ ਪਾਸ ਕੀਤਾ। ਇਸ ਤਹਿਤ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਵਿੱਚ 25 ਲੋਕਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਮੁਲਾਜ਼ਮਾਂ ਵਾਲੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨੈਸਿਸ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਰਤ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਲਿਖਤੀ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਮੁਲਾਜ਼ਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਦਰਜ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਦਿਨ ਖਤਮ ਹੋਣ ਸਮੇਂ ਕਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੰਮ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਡਿਸਕਨੈਕਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ। ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਨੀਤੀਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਈਮੇਲਸ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਦੇਣ ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਨਿਰਧਾਰਤ ਸਮਾਂ ਸੀਮਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੁਲਾਜ਼ਮ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋਣ ਉਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਆਊਟ ਆਫ ਆਫਿਸ ਨੋਟੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਔਨ ਕਰ ਲੈਣ। ਐਕਟ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਹਰ ਸਾਲ 1 ਜਨਵਰੀ ਤੇ 1 ਮਾਰਚ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਇੰਪਲੋਇਰ ਇਹ ਯਕੀਨੀ ਬਣਾਵੇ ਕਿ ਮੁਲਾਜ਼ਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਡਿਸਕਨੈਕਟ ਹੋਣ ਲਈ ਲਿਖਤੀ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਹੋਵੇ।